This is the Modern Vibes on Vibes Radio.
Canada. Big up to Shabaranks on that one. Trailer load the gals. Bringing us to 25 minutes to 10 a.m. Now it's time to get into conversation. And we are privileged in studio to have two gentlemen who are going to be helping us dissect a conversation. Today we're talking about enterprise development. And in studio we have Collins Oluoch. Karibu Collins. Tunaye Collins.
Collins. Tunaye Collins.
And then we have NGATIA MuhOYA, who is a UNDP Youth Sounding Board. Karibu sana.
Tunaye NGATIA.
NGATIA. Tunaye NGATIA. Remember, Collins is actually president of Nyeri University Alumni Association. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Collins, I hope badoski baridi. Umefunga masikio. All right, welcome to the conversation. Let's talk enterprise development. We're talking about, of course, Youth Policy Dialogue Forum. And all throughout the week and last week, we've been talking to my youth, Kuambia Maze. We have to be a part of this conversation.
Got to be part of the table.
Especially on policy making, putting our voice out there. A lot of young people, ukitoka shule sai, the conversation is, endo wanzi biashara kuna makazi. But what are the challenges that youth are having setting up business? I want to start with you, NGATIA.
So basically kuna challenges mbili ndo nataka ku highlight. The first one is access to capital, and number 2 capacity building. So unaona mtu ako na idea lakini hawezi pata pesa ku innovate na kufanya sort of proof of concept. And you know it's hard to get people who believe in your idea. So that's why capacity building is even more important than the money. So for example, what we've been doing at KEPSA is we've had a upskilling project for young people. It's called a MSME and SME sort of support center. So young people actually come, they get skilled, they get different opportunities to access to capital, and because of the ability to innovate and you know getting mentors in the right spaces, then you're able to actually create a value proposition that can be funded. So that's the biggest gap.
Interesting.
Now, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned capital, because if you look at since this new constitution, every subsequent government imetoa budget ama fund ya ma youth. Ukiangalia hiyo ya tenders, 30% is it yenye imewekwa aside for the youth. Is it enough? Are youth even accessing them? Nilisikia msee akisema some of these things mtu hata hajui you exist. Could this be some of the challenges?
That's a good question. I'd say there are 2 angles to that. Number 1 is lack of information, and number 2 is the elephant in the room, corruption. Because if you don't have the information, then you can't access the right opportunities. And then when you go to the corruption element, it's like even if you do have the information, you need to know someone. You know, there's this saying, it's not what you know but who you know. That's very true in Kenya.
Kenya, man.
Kenya, that's very true. No matter what anyone tells you, you can have a PhD at 23 years old, but if you don't have the right networks, huwezi enda mahali.
And what about you, Mr. Collins Oluoch, President Nyeri University Alumni Association? When we're talking about graduates, tumejua many guys who are graduating from school right now, and this idea of being employed is really dying out, you know, especially in this day and age. What wanasema entrepreneurship is the way to go. I'm just curious, where will you engage na ma comrades, and even in the position you're in right now, what are they telling you about the business environment? And is it really possible for you to thrive as an entrepreneur in Kenya, as a youth entrepreneur?
The business environment is very hostile to a young person. One, because of what NGATIA has talked about, funding and taxation. There is a lot of, like, young people, you are required to take a lot of permits. Sijui unataka kuanzisha biz, Nairobi city government on you, then the national government is equally on you. There is a lot of permits that you need to keep processing. And at the same time, the government does not appreciate that you're a young person who does not have that capability to have those funds to finance such taxations or such permits that are there. So I think the government has put in place a lot of bottlenecks that do not enable young people to be able to just innovate ideas, to have a place where they can incubate these ideas. No, this conversation is timely because this is an electioneering period where a lot of candidates wameka manifesto zao mbele. us as young people, ours, I'm talking from the point of Mkenya Daima, ours is to look at these manifestos and to engage them and look. Kuna side inaongelea bottom up, kuna ingine inaongelea 6,000 and other things.
So far umeangalia gani unaona relate na mavijana, which one is conducive, yani which one can propel us to thrive in business, for example, as young Kenyans?
Mine is to invite young Kenyans to think through them, to think through the practicability of those things. You know what? The budget has already been passed. This government that is going to be elected in August 9th is going to operate on a budget that has already been passed. Even if you're going to pass subsidiary budget, you're going to operate on a budget that has already been passed. How practical is it to tell us that in 100 days unataka kutupea what? Ours is to ask young people to come and interrogate these manifestos on the side of practicability, because in the next 5 years the impact that the president we elect on 9th August is going to really dent our future. Like if we make a bad decision now, in the next 5 years, unaweza imagine in the next 5 years, 2027 tutakuwa wapi na tutakuwa na kaaje hiyo scenario. So invite young people to have that conversation.
Now, NGATIA, Collins, a lot of young people are out here doing business, right? And we've talked about the challenges, but there are solutions that lie amongst the youth. What are some of those things that you're hearing that a young person is saying, ingekuwa na hii, ingekuwa fiti? Like, the other day I was having a conversation and someone said, that 7-year tax break could really do well. And I remember when BBI was being pushed, some of the youth groups walikuwa nasema, the only thing that stands out for me is this 7-year tax break. What are some of the things that you must youth wakisema hii kiwekwa nini inaweza fanya enterprise yangu igrow sana?
Fantastic question. There's I'll use a case study. There's a youth innovation center in Isiolo, sponsored by Kenya School of Government, UNDP, and a few other players. So if you go there, it's quite remarkable what they're doing, because young people kama wako exterior in terms of not in the urban areas, they don't have access to like internet, computers, and so on. So number one thing is to expand the reach of access to these networks and resources. So if we can have hubs sort of sponsored by county governments within each county. So let's say we start with Nairobi Innovation Hub, then we go to Mombasa Innovation Hub, Nakuru Innovation Hub, and then from there we begin to nurture innovation. You know how iHub started? I was an intern at iHub back in the day, and you see that's how I got the entrepreneurial drive. So I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I'd say there's actually a lot which has been done to open up the ecosystem, but it's not targeting young people specifically. It's targeting the non-traditional businesses, which are tech, which are mostly tech enabled, so fintech, edutech, and so on. But not everyone will come up with these ideas. And for the people who don't, what kind of safety net do we have for them to start small businesses, MSMEs, and so on? So I'd say these hubs would be a great idea, because you can pull together networks, you can pull together resources, and you can even have competitions to spur innovation and actually fund ideas and mentor them and hold their hands as they go along.
Collins, you've spoken to youth when you're alumni. I'm sure a lot of when you umetoka riara mazee wako na plans za kuanza biashara. What are some of the ideas yenye umesikia youth akisema hii kiwekwa in place inaweza saidia sana my youth?
That tax bracket, that is one of the ideas that people are willing to see that it comes to fruition, that people are eager to see that coming to fruition. Is information. There's a lot of information that people are not aware of, but we like assuming that it's public knowledge. Like there's a lot of laws. For instance, this is a generation of creatives. There's a lot of laws that creatives would want to know that they are not aware of. And then finally, I wanted to talk about laws that creatives are not aware of. For instance, you remember, I think there is a ICT bill that was being passed. Our education system is tailored in a way that we are asked to think about white collar jobs. When I was thinking about what to do, my parents had limited my scope of thinking. I was either to be a lawyer or a pilot. Then I pursued law. Now that I've pursued law, you would not want to tell me to think about forming my own business. I'll just be nitakuwa tuna strict mind of
thinking. Lawyer.
I
either start a law firm or I go to court or something like that. Like a very strict mindset. But if we revamp our education system to encourage innovation, to encourage ideas, and after you've encouraged ideas, see to it that you fund you support these ideas. When I was in high school, tulikuwa na science congress.
I remember.
People used to have brilliant ideas in science congress.
Nezo ideas zilienda ngapi?
That's the question.
Kwa sababu mimi unajua nilitengeneza nini sasa nilikuwa science congress. I was physics. Nilitengeneza amp maze.
What?
From scratch.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's actually won an award. Sa shida ni sasa unaona kazi yenye nafanya. My amplification is actually my mouth. Kuna kitu ingine my youth pia usema kwamba ease of doing business. Tulikuwa tumekaa hapa na Bwana Sifuna, when was that, Tuesday? Alikuwa anasema kwamba, you know, of course talking about his party's manifesto, but they're saying one of the biggest challenges even for investors coming into the country na kwanga is by the time ufungue biashara umefanya decathlon. You know, papers za kufungua nini. Add this also some of the challenges my youth wanaongea juu yake.
Yeah, that's quite true, because if you look at the process end to end of starting a business, getting registration, though they've tried to streamline it with e-citizen, which is now much better than it was, it's still a bit cumbersome, because you have to deal with KRA, you have to deal with government, you have to deal with name searches, and then from there, then you go into raising money for your idea. There are very few government supported institutions that will help you raise money. So if you go into, for example, Kenya National Chamber of Commerce or an organization such as KEPSA, there are institutions which are therefore mostly blue chip companies. So these big companies that are looking to invest millions of dollars into the country, and well and good, that's acceptable, but what about the place for the young entrepreneur? So then we have these startups coming up that are promising to help raise money for young people, but the problem is young people aren't aware of these institutions because that information is circulated amongst a few people, and then number two, that information because it doesn't trickle down, you're not inspired to actually create, because you're thinking, okay, I'll come up with an idea, then what? And then also the thinking, because the thinking of young people is I'd say we are caught up in like a rock and a hard place, because we're thinking I need government support and I need a good idea. But the problem is young people are such a big group of people that if we come together, we can actually do things on our own. You see, we need to get out of the mentality of serikali nisaidia, kwa sababu serikali haitakusaidia whether you like it or not.
And I just want to point out one thing, we the youth vote, that's what really matters. My youth, the question I'm asking you hapo tunakuuliza mimi tuko na Sheila is, are you ready to have your opinion heard? Your manifesto umeona hapo ya Ganja Nation, Hustler Nation, sijui Azimio, I mean, they even relate with you.
Maura pia kuna manifesto.
Maura pia kuna manifesto. Why do we keep forgetting?
Not we.
You. Why do I? So guess what, today we've done something really interesting. Kuna kitu inaitwa hapo hivyo the youth vote. It's a ballot, virtual ballot youth vote box. Tunataka uingia hapo hivyo kwa social media to #ComboxingKev, and the hashtag is deepening democracy. Do you know how to get funding for your business? Because today we're talking about enterprise development. Unatoa ngapi do kidai kwanza, kama kuna idea fiti you want to conceptualize it, you know, how do you access your funding? Talk to us, let's share these ideas. We'll be excited to read them out.
So now kumalizia niko nimesikia hii show nimesema okay, hata in fact niko Nakuru, wacha niende kwenda kwa hiyo nini, nikienda kuji express, kwa sababu jana hapa tulipatiwa one tip on how you should go as youth, kwa sababu nikifika huko na niseme mimi kama mwanabiashara ndio shida yangu na malone, will my voice get heard?
Your question, just rephrase it please.
Nitasikika nikienda peke yangu kwa hizi policy forum?
That's a good question. So huwezi sikika kwa sababu unakuja peke yako. Now the problem is young people, a lot of the time we operate in silos. We have great ideas, brilliant ideas. You can sit down and you can even identify the problems with the economy, the problems with this manifesto, how we can add to it. But if you don't organize, because leaders appreciate data, you know, data driven decision making. So if you're not able to organize and come up with, you know, a report, that's why people listen to Infotrack, Ipsos, Tifa Research. Why can't we have one for young people, where we mobilize and say, guys, you know, in this region 10,000 of us lack ABCD, and we need this to happen in the next 90 days for us to have hope and a future. So I think we need to organize better, and we need to come together and actually be hard.
One thing my friend was telling me, Sheila, you sasa wewe uko na idea hapo, you and your group mnenda straight to the governor's office, mnapiga hapo mlango ati mnataka some airtime with you.
Muskike.
Go and organize yourself, come up with a report, good data, kama kuna forum ya policies hapo nini, share your ideas and then when you're the table you know very well that you'll be a priority. Lakini sasa umeenda pale bana, umegonga mlango governor, he's busy.
Na nikuulize na nyinyi kama mayouth mbona yukonga lo sangi fruit kupatia mayouth ati mko vijana ngapi hapa tufungulie car wash? Is it kila area ni car wash watu mayouth wanataka?
From experience, from my experience, for the longest time, and it's unfortunate, the politicians have used young people to fill stadiums, and I keep saying this every time. Campaigns are done on weekdays, and ukiangalia pictures a campaign, whether it's Hustler Nation, Ganja Nation or Azimio, the stadiums are always so full.
Ganja Nation. So naitwa Roots Party.
Tingiza miti. If you look at those pictures, say for Mores, the campaigns are always full of young people, because these young people are unemployed, and that is what excites the politicians to see that the young people are not engaged. That's why when you go with an idea to a politician, they'll tell you, have you looked at my diary? Have you booked an appointment? That's why we have a lot of bottlenecks when it comes to appreciating the ideas of young people, and that's why this electioneering period we are asking young people to do something that we've never done in the past. Let us not being used by politicians. Let us stop that narrative that politicians think they can always call on us when they want us to perpetrate violence or when they want us to just fill their stadiums. That's what I'm saying. In the next 5 years, the decisions we make now are going to be very, very, they're going to have huge ramifications on our lives.
Yes.
We are going to face a situation whereby you're going to have a huge voter apathy. Vijana wamesema saizi sioni nikienda kuvote. Why? Because there is a system that exists. So if I vote, the deep state is going to pick who is going to
they'll determine how I live my life.
My vote does not matter.
Exactly.
There are just few people who sit in a boardroom who decide itaenda kwa jamaa whether to vote or not. You see, so from that, people are scared of the elections, and that's why we as Mkenya Daima are saying, you come out and vote. That is your responsibility. It's a civic duty in the constitution. Sasa tunasema nitatenda wajibu wangu, na wajibu wangu ni kwanza nitakagua who am I voting for. That is the political pillar and social pillar. Look at their credentials. Even if IEBC and other institutions have failed to lock candidates who are supposed to be locked, we are going to still do our end of the bargain and finally to vote
live
and honestly, this is an amazing initiative courtesy it's an amazing initiative courtesy of YSO, Kenya Daima, tukuna the National Cohesion and Integration Commission of Kenya, UNDP, and of course Vibes Radio, not forgetting Ministry of ICT as well. So big up.
All right. I think it's important to ask you a question here. Mambo Githui anasema innovation and support from the government for youthful MSMEs is a brilliant mindset. How do we get it to the grassroots?
That's a good question. I'll give a personal story. So I started a company when I was in,
lakini mix up na Kiswahili manzi tunataka kukugate.
Sasa nilianzisha kampuni nikiwa kampo.
Tunakugate.
Sasa ilikuwa ya kuengage youth katika politics. Tulikuwa tunatumia gamification. We're still doing it actually. Tunatumia gamification, tuko na game ya politics. Sasa tunajaribu ku attract ma funding, investors and so on. But lakini tulikuwa tumeshatengeneza vizuri. We had built it, we had gotten partners and so on. So now the challenge was una approach government, unasema nataka usikize Kenya youth wanasema. Staki pesa, staki kitu, I want you to just listen, have a platform. But in 2017 when we started, walikuwa nasikiza because it's campaign time. Wakiingia wanazima simu, uwezi waona. So Kenya nataka kusema ni, if leaders can be true to what they are saying during election, would have a transformed country. Yani hii country huwezi amini Kenya inaweza fanyika to the youth.
But let me ask you a quick one. How can they be true but we don't tell them what we want?
Sababu kishaingia na azimesimu, is that the end of the story?
Now that's
you engage kwa policy development nini, and then we're saying you be true, but you be true. How can I be true but I don't know what you want?
That's
you didn't
true.
ask.
That's true. So actually that's the gap we are trying to solve. So it's not, election is not just during August. It's not during August only. Election in between. So Kenya nafanyika in between is why you're supposed to be involved. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get young people involved through their phones, through games. You try and answer issues, you respond to questions. Unawaambia, by the way, ulisema hivi na hivi, lakini hujafanya hivyo. So what happens next,
I want to be a
Love it.
devil's advocate on this, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just ask a question to us. When is the last time you attended, or have you ever attended a public participation session whereby people are passing a law, or in the county government kulikuwa sheria
I know,
tunapitisha,
mimi nishai.
ukaattend? How many?
Nilikuwa na Kisumu County, by the way.
Because you're working at the county.
Exactly.
So, no,
exactly.
actually,
Mwambie tangu atoke Kisumu. Kama
my
mengia.
point is,
Yeah.
because I knew of that event,
Yeah.
kulikuwa na hiyo forum, nilikuwa naenda hivyo just to actually hear and share my
Na
ideas.
niulize-
I went there as an individual, not
Hawa
that
tu-
nilikuwa na organization.
Hao watu wenyewe wanaosizi public participation. Hata kama kabla uanze kupoint fingers at youth. Unaweka public participation kwa gazeti.
notice.
Youth mgani anasoma gazeti?
hizi gazeti
Weka
iko
kitu
digital.
kwa social media bana.
Watu wanaweka kwa notice
kama,
board.
kama sisi hapa hata hatujui pali public participation inafanyika. Msee mwenye anaenda kufungua duka yake huko Likoni kwa ferry atajua how will they know. So this is a thing I have thrown to members of parliament, to the Senate.
Yeah.
Kama mna announce hizi vitu, let it be very clear. Yes, you are supposed to announce it in the paper.
Yeah.
Hiyo imetosha, especially kwa sababu unajua feature hapo ndani hawataona. Yeah, so hakutakuwa na vitu mob za kudiskasiwa. The honest truth is, if you ask an average young person out there, even older
don't
people,
know.
kama washaisikia juu ya public participation, unless chief mwenyewe akuje, wewe
Kuna
tunakutana
public
mkutano,
participation.
they don't know. Yeah.
But that information is available. They don't look for it.
Yeah.
So you're not going to victimize, or rather you're not going to slaughter parliamentarians and other people for lack of giving that information. That information is there.
But where do you put the information? Where do you put the
Find the
information?
people on the
the
ground.
You know, it's true. I like what you're saying, because if you look at the Public Participation Act, it's supposed to be, you're supposed to have a creative way of approaching young people. Si ati unaweka kwa gazeti una feature, kwa sababu inaonyesha ati una feature ndo ugain.
Exactly.
Kwa sababu if you don't have input from young people, unaweza feature budget, unaweza iba pesa, people won't call you out. But if you do it in a manner that is creative, that is engaging, that you're actually trying to do your job honestly, then utapata wase wanakuja ku participate.
Ndio kwa sababu tuko na hii national policy youth policy dialogue forum, mavijana tujitokeze. Na pia kama hiyo kitu ya gazettement ya hizi public participation haifanyiki in a way yenye nakufikia, enda basi utoe ujumbe hapo useme, kama mnataka kuongea na youth bana, tuone hashtag. Mbona isi trend? Mbona wasitrendishe public participation forum happening in Nakuru? Can it not happen? It's because the law is open ended. Hawasemangi creative, wanasema as long as you have made the announcement. Hawasemangi kitu yote juu creative. Alafu unafikiri wao watajitolea waseme mayouth hawajasikia. Mayouth lazima mjitokeze. This message is brought to you courtesy of the National Youth NYC, and of course sisi kama Wakenya tujitokeze tupige kura. I gotta end it there. Kevin, ebu sikia hii.
Vote for our Kenya. Vote for the youth policies. Vote for opportunities. Vote for the truth and values. Vote for transformation. Vote for everything good. Vote for your neighbor, for me and for you.
Right ya kuvote so that future iwe bright. Ikitu ya ku-exercise kila day, kila night. Twende tukavote, everything will be alright. This is our nation, this is our life.
Hii ni home